Hey everyone, so for this tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a mock ad by using an existing ad. So let's say this ad, for example, if you are an athlete that is trying to pitch to this company, instead of making your own ad, why not just replace an existing ad to show them examples of how your work can be utilized for their current content. So what we're going to do is show you a simple way of how to replace the image within this cell phone with an image that you already have of yourself from your brand kit. Now, the first thing you want to do is zoom in so that we can actually see this better. And what we want to do is remove the image from the middle of this cell phone. So what we're going to do is use, if we go over to our left, we're going to go to our quick selection tool. And now with this quick selection tool, I'm just going to select within the cell phone. And as you can see, it basically made a selection. Now, of course, there's some things that need to be fine-tuned. So we're going to go back in with our poly tool, and we're just going to, using the plus to add to the selection, we're just going to add just different parts of the phone that was left out in the selection. All right, we're going to do the same thing on this side. And this is why you want to be able to zoom in, just so that you can have a better idea of what needs to be edited and what needs to be fixed. All right, so now this is selected very, very quickly and very, very easily. So now the next thing we're going to do is create a mask of the selection. So what we want to do before we do that is we're going to select the inverse. And then we're just going to go to the square at the bottom with the circle in the middle. And now we basically have a hole in the cell phone. So now we're going to find the image that we actually want to put in the cell phone. Let's say we want to use this image here. So we're just going to drag and drop. We're going to hit OK. And now what we're going to do is we're going to resize the image. Now to resize the image, you want to make sure that this link is clicked. The reason you want to make sure that it is clicked so that if you make any adjustments, it's going to stay proportionate to the image. If the link is not clicked, it's going to stretch the image out, and that's not what you want. So you want to make sure that this link is clicked. And then we're just going to make it a little bit smaller just to kind of fit the frame. All right, this looks pretty good here. So we're going to hit our check mark. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to move this layer of the cell up. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to move this layer underneath the ad. So now we have this image right here, and we have the ad, and it looks pretty good. Now, if we want to just fine tune a little bit, like let's say I want to cut off this side of her arm, I'm going to go back to our move tool, and I'm just going to just make adjustments by stretching it out, seeing what I like best. Whether we want to move it around, move it up, or move it down. And voila. Now this athlete has replaced the existing ad with a picture of herself, and she can use that when she's pitching herself to this company. Now here's another example of an existing ad that we want to replace the current subject with somebody else. Now it looks a little bit complex, and it kind of is a little complex, but we're going to show you some simple ways of how to replace this subject with somebody else. Now the first thing we want to do is select the subject. So we're going to go to our poly tool, and we're just going to select around her. Now, whenever you're selecting, you want to make sure that you do not get any of the letters. You just want to go around the subject to make this editing process easier for yourself. Perfect. All right, so now that I have the subject selected, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go to Content Aware Fill. Now, as you guys can see, this green area is the sampling area. So because of that, we're getting all these lines in this image, and that's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually change our sampling area to custom, and we're just going to select the areas that we want to influence the clone. So what we're going to do is I just want to select most of the green in the background, some of the green here, but you see I'm not selecting any of the words or any of the lines. And let's see what it creates. Voila. And there we go. And here's a nice green image that we can actually fill in with the subject. So we're going to hit OK. And you want to make sure that we put the output to the current layer. And hit OK. And voila. Now, of course, at first glance, we can see this hard line that's going around it, which is not appealing, and it looks like we removed something from the image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our clone stamp tool, and we're just going to zoom in. We're going to keep our hardness down to 0. And using the clone stamp tool, we're just going to select from the area right in here, and we're just going to try to soften that by just clicking and going around. So we're only sampling this area that was adjusted, but we just want to click softly just to get that outline removed. And as you can see, because it's nice and soft, it looks like it's blending in a little bit better. And that's perfect. All right. Now, when we're getting closer to the logo, you may want to just zoom in a little bit more and make your brush a little bit smaller because you don't want it to paint onto the logo. Because if we have it too big like this, for example, you'll see it starts to go over the logo, and that's not what you want. So we're just going to make it smaller and perfect. Right. Perfect. All right, so this looks a little bit better. So now what we're going to do is add in the athlete's image, and then we'll fine tune a little bit more. Now, in one of our previous tutorials, we talked about creating a PNG of the athlete to make it easy to import them into flyers, posters, or different things like that. And as you can see, it already looks great. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to adjust the size of the model. And let's see, we can make it a little bit bigger if we want. And I love the way that she's looking because she's looking it up. It's kind of looking as if she's looking at the sign and the wording. So we're just going to adjust it a little bit, and then we're going to hit OK. And perfect. So now if we want to fine tune a little bit more, as we can see, like the green line ends right here and the green line ends here. And if we want this to look as realistic as possible, even if we're just using this for a pitch, here's some simple ways to do that. So we're going to make sure that we're clicked on our background layer. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to use this rectangular, and I'm just going to select right here. Move a little bit up. I'm going to go to our move tool. And now this is when I actually will remove the link. So the reason I want to remove the link is because I don't want to stretch out the line to make it bigger, right? I just want to extend it. So I'm removing the link, and I'm just going to extend it. And I'm just going to extend it into the arm. Perfect. And now we're going to do the same thing on this side of her. So we're just going to select I'm going to go back to the move tool. We're going to make sure it's not linked, and we're just going to stretch it on down, and we're just going to keep stretching. And voila. Now, of course, if we want to go in just fine tune, As we can see, there's like that harsh line that's happening there. I'm going to use the patch tool. I'm just going to select just where that harsh line is, and I'm just going to drag, and that looks better. Then I'm just going to drag it there and do the same thing on the next side. If your lines are a little bit crooked like mine, you can just use the rectangular tool and then go back to the patch tool and drag it over. And there we go. Now we have the subject in this ad. I hope that this tutorial was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I can't wait to see what you all create.